Hello, thanks for joining me. Today we have another great late season fly that works great for panfish or steelhead and trout. This is a nymph, and to start off we have a size 10 or 8 or 12. Those three are the best for this fly. Nymph hook, just put a little .20 lead wire there. Start my thread, tie down the lead. I have the lead position so I have a hook eye and a half or 2 hook eyes clearance at the eye of the hook. I'm just going to tie that down, put some wraps on there, move to the back. This fly is a very quick tie. Then I'm going to take some black hackle, dry fly quality, that very spiky, and I'm going to have a black hackle tail, about 20 fibers. There's 10, give or take a few. So I'm going to add another cluster of 10 or 12. So I get 20 or 30. Doesn't really matter. And you want them angled down, and you just tie up to the lead. What you're actually going to do is you're going to use these hackles as a ramp up the lead. Okay? Your rib material is going to be silver tinsel. You can use gold. Different waters and different conditions dictate this. This is not really it's an imitation, but it's not really that great of a realistic fly. So the dubbing, I'm using Arctic fox hair black, and I just chopped it up into 3 centimeter pieces off the hide, and I just mixed up and made a little dubbing. I'm going to want a fairly tapered body, so I'm going to start off thin on my dubbing, as you can see. Okay, and then I'm going to go thick. An Arctic fox is really a great dubbing because it will hold together and it will hold the water very good, and the more fish you catch, the more fish you keep on catching because it gets a little bit buggier, and it's just really great dubbing. So just dub up the fly. If you have some hairs cut loose, just go back there and try to redub them like I'm having right here. There we go. Just dub up until about midway through the lead, or about 2/3 way up the shank of the hook. And this excess dubbing you can just trim off. Then grab your rib and do 4 or 5 ribs. I like the silver because it adds a good contrast, and it has a good sheen and flash to it. Sorry, I got all focused there. Just tie that down. Now you are going to tie in your wind case, and you can use a couple materials. You can use like a black feather, like crow, or you can actually use thin skin. And my favorite is actually the mottled oak and natural. That works. That's a great thin skin for back for this, but I'm going to use some naturally black goose. And you're going to want about a hook gaps wide swath of it to make a good wind case. with thin skin that's okay, but with natural materials, natural quill, you're going to want to go a little less because it doesn't stretch and form like thin skin does. So then you're going to take the same black dubbing, Arctic Fox, and it's good to have some of those guard hairs in there. The natural fox, that really makes it look a lot better. I'll show you what I'm talking about real quick. These very fine feathers, right, or fibers right here. Very fine stuff. I mean, there's this fluffy stuff right here. I don't know how well you guys will be able to see that. There's this fluffy stuff, then there's this fine stuff called the guard hairs. So just dub that on. And you're going to want a fairly thick thorax, you know. You don't want way too thick, but you don't want too thin either. You're just going to pull over the wind case. But in general, you're going to want your wind case slightly duller color, or slightly lighter color, like this natural wind case, or this natural goose quill. Okay, then we're going to flip it upside down. And you're going to grab that same black hackle. You're just going to create some legs right here. That's 15. I generally like more fibers for my legs than I do my tail. So I'm going to want anywhere from 15 to 40. So I'm actually just going to tie on the tip of my hackle here. That'll probably get me 40, 50, 60 fibers. I like a real thick legs. And you want them to splay. I don't know how you can see that, but they're sort of splaying out the thorax, which is good. And we're just going to make the head. The head is just black. And then grab your whip finisher and whip finish. This fly is a really good steelhead fly, and it's excellent for panfish. I've taken more panfish on this nymph than I have any other nymph. I've taken a fair amount of steelhead too. This is a fall fly, could be a winter fly, but it's a fall fly, not a spring fly or summer fly, because other things I go in like hoppers and some other stuff. But during the heavy mayfly hatches, yeah, it'll work, but it's more for steelhead and panfish. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully this helps, and tight line stall.